Muscatine City Council will come to order for tonight's in-depth meeting. We'll begin this evening with the roll call by Greg Bonsaker.
City Council Member Fred?
Present.
Phillips?
Present.
Bynum?
Present.
Shahade?
Present.
Matfig? Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Lorette?
Present.
Six present, one absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, Greg. We'll begin this evening with a request to the City Council to amend City Ordinance 4-1-1F, subparagraph F, pertaining to exotic animals. Does the council wish to proceed with this request?
We have a presentation tonight, Your Honor. Mr. Wolfmueller from last week's agenda. Want to come up? He's also provided the handouts that you have before you tonight.
Oh, okay.
Anthony, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
On the floor.
I'm here to ask the City Council to amend the city ordinance for particularly snakes in the city limits, either making a size limitation or a breed limitation. I've called surrounding cities, particularly Iowa City, Davenport, Burlington, and talked to their animal control units, and they've given me their city ordinances on animal pertaining to reptiles in their city limits, and all of them have pretty much the same. There's length limitations and certain breed limitations, except for Burlington, which has no limitation on any any snakes in the city limits. Davenport in itself has a 10-foot length limit and non-venomous. Iowa City has a non-venomous with particular breeds excluded, particularly reticulating pythons, anacondas, African rock pythons, large reptiles that get over 15 to 25 feet. What I'm asking is that it be amended to allow ball pythons and small constricting snakes under a 10-foot limitation.
So didn't you say the maximum length the ball python like you had would be 6 foot?
6 foot, yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Anthony, you explained to us the last time you were here that there are basically two kinds of snakes, venomous.
Venomous and constrictors.
Constrictor?
Yes, sir. Venomous snakes, they inject the venom to kill their prey and then they eat it. A constrictor, what it does is it'll bite its victim, wrap around it, and suffocate it. If it does, certain examples of that is a garter snake. That's a constrictor snake. It doesn't have a venom. It constricts around its food to kill it, and then it swallows it whole. There are only two types of snakes, venomous and constrictors.
Is there a difference in strength, let's say, between a 3-foot garter and a 3-foot ball python?
Oh, yes, sir.
Would one be stronger than the other?
Yes, sir. A ball python will get more girth to it than a garter snake, but it won't exceed, let's say, a reticulating python will get, if it gets 10 feet long, it could also be a foot around, where a ball python won't exceed about 8 to 10 inches around maximum. So it does pertain not only to the length, but also the breed of snake.
Mayor, I printed out a few copies of ordinances myself, and I can pass these around. The one that particularly interested me was Newton, because they go beyond, they don't limit it to snakes. They actually go by I think it's the, I don't know if it's the genus or the species, but they call it squamata. But it looks, from what I looked at, it looks like the standard length limit on these ordinances is 6 feet. There was one town that showed 3 feet. I mean, they cut it short. But most of them appeared to be 6 feet, and actually, I think it's down in Florida where they have the problem with people releasing the snakes into the Everglades. They just passed the Lacey Act, and that actually sets a length limit at 6 feet. It does not ban snakes.
Anthony, what snakes are real dangerous snakes that are native to our area here?
To our area?
Yes.
The timber rattler, certain other small venomous snakes, river snakes particularly. But when it comes to constrictor snakes, there's not really any snake in the vicinity that would be a danger to humans. The only ones that would be a danger are imported, like reticulating pythons, African rock pythons, certain ones from Asia and Africa and South
Now,
America.
those two snakes that you mentioned, those are venomous.
No, the African rock python and the reticulating python are both constrictors,
But they get big.
very big. A reticulating python can reach 20 feet easily.
Oh,
They don't have to bite you.
council, any questions for Anthony?
I just want to be clear on your request. You're asking us to change the code to allow constrictors less than 10 feet?
Yes, sir.
And you're silent on vipers?
Oh, I have no qualms about the non-venomous. That I agree with 100%.
So where do we go from here, Greg?
we need a-
If indeed we want to look at a change,
Yes.
then we need to, do we want to have a small committee set up? Do you want to deal with it? What?
I mean, we could certainly deal with it. I mean, I'd be interested, I've heard length as a potential limiting factor. We've got a copy of the state ordinance. I've asked Brett, the police chief, to talk to the local DNR representative as well, get some input there. If there's other thoughts, I'd certainly like to hear them tonight, if there is a consensus to move forward, because as we put an ordinance together, we'll want to have legal review of that, and there is a cost associated with that. So I do want to make sure that there is a consensus for us to take a look at it. If not, not spend the funds.
Let me read the request one more time. Request to amend City Ordinance 4-1-1, subparagraph F, pertaining to exotic animals. And the question is, does council wish to pursue this request?
Your Honor, having just been given this material a few minutes ago, I just don't feel that I have really gone through it enough to begin to vote on it tonight.
Well, we're not voting, Jeanette. This is simply a request to move forward with this.
We're not going to change what do we have in place? An
We're not
ordinance?
changing the ordinance tonight, no.
Not tonight.
We would have to go through readings to amend it, wouldn't we?
Well, we'd do a little additional research. We'd talk to IDNR as well.
But I mean, once we established what
Three
we would
readings are
do.
typically required unless the city council waives the second and third reading, yes.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed, I was opposed to the breed-specific dog banning pit bulls when we did that. That has eliminated an issue that the city of Muscatine dealt with at that point in time. Because of the influx of pit bulls, now we do not have many in the community. It's outlawed them from coming in. Not saying there aren't any in the community that have been brought in since the ordinance was passed, but we're not aware of those. Looking at smaller snakes, I guess I don't have a major problem. If a ball snake's a maximum length is 6 foot, I'm not sure I want to go to 10. But if we want to be breed specific, but that's where we need to talk with DNR and other individuals from the state to find out exactly what animals, what the names are, so we don't get something that's kind of generic, just python, and now you've got anything from, you could have a 10-foot snake, but if he uncurls far enough, can you actually measure him? So I guess I would consider taking a look at this in more detail, and getting more information and bringing it back to council.
Mark?
I'm in favor of going ahead and reviewing this, and maybe changing it to include a length limit. Like Phil said, I mean, most of what I saw, the standard in these ordinances was a 6-foot length limit. And like Anthony said, part of the reason is because these snakes really don't even maximum come up to about 5.5 feet. So I'd be in favor of going forward, but 10 feet. And I don't know, Anthony, maybe you can speak to this, but are there some concerns about at what length it takes more than one person to handle these?
Once it reaches approximately 10 feet, then it does become more of a handful for one person to handle. That's one reason I do believe most places don't allow them. because if one person has a python that's 15, 20 feet long, it can possibly overpower them, whereas two people could be able to handle them. A smaller snake, one person can handle, no problem.
I think we should give the matter a fair hearing, but I think as we look at this, and I look at some of the examples, I like the idea of discussing a standard of care. I like the idea of considering licensing. So we identify a list of critters. We know where they are and what they are.
Yeah. No surprise.
Well, you have two issues here. Well, I don't know anything about snakes, zero. The problem that I have with this here, first, how old is your snake and how long it is?
My larger snake is approximately 4 years old. He is about 5'6", 5'5", 5'6". It's very difficult to measure a snake because they don't like to lay straight. About the best way to do it is to actually have a hollow plastic tube where you make them go through it and you measure that way. It's about the approximate way.
And you feed him, it's a he, isn't he? Yeah.
My best guess, I haven't had him.
Okay, so you feed him mice and rats?
Rats, small rats.
Small rats, okay, and they grow? These,
Yeah.
For, what's the maximum that,
A ball python lives approximately 20 to 30 years, up to 6 feet long.
6 feet, up to 6? It will not grow any further than 6 feet, that's
No.
it? Okay. All right. Well, the problem is, you are a good take-cater. You take good care of that snake, okay? The problem is, how about your neighbor who doesn't take a good care of that snake? And if you put an ordinance here, it's going to be applied to you and your neighbor as well. And based on what we have here, when was it, last Saturday, was it? That we have like 1,200 animals stray in the city here. And that's a problem for the city. I mean, what happens if your neighbor with the same snake that you have, he's going to get mad one day and throw it in the ditch here in Muscatine? What are we going to do about that? It's a problem. It will be a problem, don't you think?
That would be a problem.
Yeah. So, and that's where I'm coming from here. It's like, okay, few bad people who doesn't
Ruin it
take
for the
care
rest.
of. I mean, they ruin it for everybody. And if you put an ordinance in place here, I mean, we have to live by it. That's the problem. So, but nothing against what you're doing and what you have, and we respect. I mean, it's if you are a snake lover, hey, good for you. That's great. But it's when you put an ordinance here for the whole city, that's what we need to live by. So that's my concern. But that's fine.
Bob?
I'm willing to give the guy a chance to present his case.
And that constitutes a consensus, right?
Yes, sir.
We will do some investigating, and again, Anthony, appreciate your time and your efforts here in moving this thing along, and we certainly will the council will give it its fullest consideration.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, you have a
We have a guy who wants to speak. And
We probably have to give animal control some guidance on what he does with the existing problem, who currently is against the ordinance.
Thank you. Okay, let's move right along for the council's consideration of presentation on Phase 3 of the soccer complex. Jennifer Livermore, Dr. Brad Bark, and probably others. So Jennifer, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. My name is Jennifer Livermore. I am a citizen, a soccer mom, a community volunteer, and part of the Phase 3 Soccer Development Committee, as well as the chairperson for the Recreational Advisory Commission. I am pleased to introduce the Phase 3 Development Project. The Phase 3 project has been part of the master plan of the original soccer complex, which opened in 1993. The City Council's current capital improvement goals also include this Phase 3 development project. As part of the volunteer efforts to move this project forward, the Phase 3 Development Committee was formed this past fall. And we were formed to accomplish the following. First of all, to establish need for this project, to develop the concept plan and cost estimate, to gain community support, and finally, to research and identify funding. Please let me introduce the Phase 3 Development Committee, and those of you who are present, please stand. Mr. Tim Riley, who is representing the Kentstein community as well as being a member of the Recreation Advisory Commission. Dr. Brad Bark, who's representing on this committee small business community and community health. Jason Schillig, who's representing the large business community. Muscatine Foods being a property owner. Mary Wildermuth with Muscatine History and Industry as well as grant writing. Nick Gow, City of Muscatine Athletic Facilities Manager. Richard Climbs, City of Muscatine Director of Parks and Recreation. Thank you. After several meetings to establish need and review the concept plan and cost estimate, the committee presented the recommendation to the Recreation Advisory Commission. Each member is appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We are the voice of the community and try to bring recommendations and improvements for long-term planning and changes in Muscatine. On February 1st, 2012, the commission voted unanimously to recommend the Muscatine City Council approve the Phase 3 Development Project Concept Plan with the $5 million cost estimate, subject to 100% outside funding. To review the details of the recommended concept plan, let me introduce Dr. Brad Bark.
Good evening. As everybody knows, the Phase 3 location is west of the soccer complex, across from the Hauser, that linear field, and currently there's going to be 228 parking spots that will be added to the west of the soccer complex. They'll have 2 ways of entry connecting the parking lot to Hauser Street. The design standard, according to Stanley Consultants, is 50 parking spots per large field. And with having 4 fields, like I'm going to be talking about in just a little bit, that definitely meets that standard right there. There are also 340 parking spots at the soccer complex, and in addition to 47 parking spots on Bloomington Street. This would be a total of about 615 parking spots available. And as you guys have the map right in front of you. So as you can see on the concept plan diagram, there will be a trail/sidewalk joining the Kentstein Park and connecting to the American Legion area. There's a plan to have a restroom irrigation building. Right now there's no concessions, but portable concessions will be utilized if needed. In between the parking lot and fields, there will also be 2 shaded shelters. The plan is to have, and this is for the fields, the plan is to have 4-tiered multi-use synthetic playing surfaces for many types of activities, and this includes like soccer, baseball, softball. And all 4 fields will have positive draining playing surfaces, which just means there's going to be like a crown on the field, so everything's going to drain away from the center of the field. And the playing fields, of course, are going to have lights. The Phase 3 development project will also have a perimeter fence to fence in the whole perimeter as well. And within this, there's also going to be a playground as well for children. The last thing is the donation of the land is a contingent on 4 things: updated/current concept plan. The parking lot must be constructed first. The perimeter of the site must be fenced in. And the last one, there must be a designated funding source. Thank you. And Nick Gow is going to be coming up now.
Thank you, Dr. Bark. In your packet of information is a cost estimate provided by Stanley Consultants with input from both the city staff as well as from the development committee that was put together that Jennifer had just talked about a little bit ago. I'm going to give a general overview of the cost estimate that you have in front of you. If at any time you have any questions about any of the specific line items, please let me know. As Dr. Bark just said, fence is in the project to be installed around the fields. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that this will not include a fence around the parking lot. We want to make sure that the parking lot itself is available at all times to usage groups, both at Soccer Complex and Kent Stein Park. And as Dr. Bark had just said, this is also a recommendation or requirement to take over the land from the current private landowner. Sidewalks, on the third line item down there, includes a sidewalk. And again, we had talked about doing a sidewalk as well as the idea of possibly a trail. Right now at the end of Kent Stein Park is a trail that begins at Kent Stein Park and eventually ends up with the new addition out towards Wildcat Den. So again, we're looking at, right now the current plan calls for just a 5 foot wide sidewalk going from the linear side, south side of the facility up to the American Legion currently. So, but again, we can also explore the possibility of a trail in the near future as well. We are currently recommending, as Dr. Bark had said, to light all 4 fields. And the cost estimate right now is about $660,000 to light all 4 synthetic fields. And again, this is going to help to provide additional usage later into the evening for the facilities to be used, as well as further into the year as light diminishes as well. On the second page, when it comes to landscaping, we do have an irrigation out there for the playing fields themselves. And I know a lot of people ask, with synthetic fields, why do you need an irrigation system for something that's not actually growing out there? And the main reason behind an irrigation system for the synthetic fields is to help cool the surface. With rubber infills, especially black rubber infills, the surface will eventually, during the heat of the summer, get very hot, especially during the middle part of the day. And with an irrigation system, it provides us the opportunity to cool the surface throughout the day so that it is playable throughout the heat of the summer and throughout the heat of the day in there. So that is one item I did want to mention. Again, we get a lot of questions about why an irrigation system for synthetic fields, which I understand the question coming, but again, I wanted to make sure that it was clear that it really is for the cooling of the surface and not for any type of growth out there. With the current soccer complex, we really try to push quality throughout the entire facility. And as you see in the landscape, when it comes to slide slopes and perimeter, we do have an irrigation system in there, as well as bluegrass seed, fertilizer, mulch, and trees in there. And again, we're trying to provide quality throughout the season out there, as we try to do at all of our facilities, and have an aesthetic appeal to all user groups out there. So there is some irrigation designed for the intermediate turf areas that will be maintained throughout the year as well. Get down to the synthetic fields. We are looking at, again, 4 synthetic fields. Approximate size is about 80,000 square foot for a synthetic field at a price of approximately $9 per unit. We feel that this is going to be adequate and providing the necessary recreation surface that we need to perform several different activities that Jennifer will talk about here in a minute. And again, there's a wide array of activities that can be utilized with this facility, and we feel that the 80,000 square foot is a good estimate of square footage needed for these. We do have a couple of other amenities in here, an irrigation room and a restroom facility as part of the project, and also a playground for $20,000. Currently at Kent Stein Park and the soccer complex, there is not a playground of any type, and we think that this would be a great addition to all of the athletic facilities in our area down there. And again, the cost estimate is approximately $5 million for what we're asking for. And this does include all design and engineering services and a contingency fund to necessarily develop and complete the project. Any questions on the cost estimate?
I just had one question. And maybe I'm not seeing it, but where would the playground be?
We're still working with that, and again, this was the original design given to us by Stanley's. We do have, again, if you look at the design, you can see a restroom facility in the middle and 2 shelters on each side. We can work that into the design. After talking with Stanley's, we can work that into the design somewhere in the perimeter of the facility.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't see it. So.
I know that parking is a concern today, and that's the reason why we want to see parking first. Yep. But if you put in 4 fields and you're allowing 50 spaces for field, we're only picking up 28 new spaces if there's a tournament down there. And how does that alleviate the parking concern?
When we talked with Stanley's, we did gather some information from them, and what their suggestion was is that we have 50 parking stalls for each large field. With our current 8 fields that we currently have, and adding 4 additional fields on there, that's going to make 12 fields with a combined approximately 615 parking spaces throughout the soccer end itself. I do want to remind you that we do have an additional approximately 800 parking stalls at Kent Stein Park as well, within the gates of Kent Stein.
Nick, is it conceivable that you would take one of the existing soccer fields out of service for maintenance?
It's something that we could definitely explore. Again, it hadn't been brought up in our committee and with the commission, but yes, I mean, I think that we could alleviate some of the pressure with the current facility, but again, this is an addition on to what our current facilities are. We do still need to meet the needs of our current usage groups out there, but yes, that's something we can definitely look into.
Playing ground surface. That's an issue that's surfaced, if you will, in the budget sessions this past week or so. What would the intended playground surface be comprised of?
We haven't put really a lot of attention into the details of what would be all involved with the playground itself. We could consider different elements out there, different features that could go with this. So I know that there has been some talk about the playground surfaces out there, and again, we really haven't put the time and attention into that detail of it, and this is again just a concept plan of just involving and adding on a playground, since there is not currently one within soccer or Kent Stein.
Just a couple of things here. I couldn't help but notice that Mr. Haig is here, and we need to just give Mr. Haig some credit here for being an instrumental of building soccer complex, and to update the notes of Ms. Livermore. That soccer complex was established in 1994, not 1993, and Bill can correct me on that maybe, but I think you said 1993, but it's 1994. Is that?
I believe she's correct.
Okay.
I think we had the inaugural professional match in the fall of 93.
93, was it?
August of 93, we had some professional team here.
Okay, that's great. Couple things here. I think the problem that we have at the soccer complex is parking, like what Tom said. And you have $5 million in the budget here. Would it be, probably if we couldn't raise the $5 million, would it be possible to have only 2 fields and then the rest as parking here to accommodate the soccer complex the way it is right now? That's something to think about. In addition to all this, one other item is you talk about phase 3 of the soccer complex, but if with the package that we received here, it looks like there's 19 entities in the community they're going to utilize.
That's right.
These fields.
Yep, and that's
So
why we've
it's-
really
it's-
called it the Phase 3 recreation development. It's
Okay,
not
it's-
just a
it's
soccer,
soccer,
not
okay,
just
phase-
Phase 3
phase
soccer,
3
but Phase
soccer,
3
that's-
development.
So that's the point that I'm trying to make.
Yep.
So is there a possibility to have it only 2 fields instead of 4? If the funding, it's not 100% there, would you proceed with that if you raise $2.5 million maybe, or I don't
Chris,
know?
go ahead and talk.
That's a great question, and in the event that we cannot raise the entire $5 million, we would look at a phased approach. However, we cannot say tonight that we can do that. We need to talk to the property owner and make sure we have a clear understanding as what his expectations are in donating the property. So it's going to land on that conversation.
Okay. Just a thought, I mean, it's in the event, instead of killing the whole project, that's what I'm saying here.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Nick, just a quick question about, we're going to lay a synthetic surface. You're going to use it for a number of sources, or sporting events, so it won't be permanently marked as a soccer field? You chalk it like you do grass, or how does this work?
With synthetic fields, they've actually come out some great products lately. We could have some permanent markings in there, whether it's a large-size soccer field, whether it's large-size soccer field and medium or small-size. Football fields can be in this. The current surface at the high school has three different field layouts. They have a rugby field, a football field, and a soccer field. So we can explore different layouts with each of the fields. There's also synthetic fields out there that'll have a brown surface on some of the areas that are actually laid out for baseball fields, for softball fields as well. So with 4 synthetic fields, I think we could do some creative markings out there. They've also come out with some paint for synthetic fields where you can actually go out and paint a field temporarily, and then there's scrubbing equipment that'll go out there and actually be able to take away the paint surfaces that you go out. So I think there's some great versatility in what we can actually accomplish for the different activities or the different recreation programs that go on with this.
Nick, with the 19 entities going to utilize that or open for them to use, how is the schedule going to be? What's the priority there for these fields?
We really haven't gotten into the priority for the recreation side of things. I think it's, one thing we've discussed as a commission and as a committee is, currently at Kent Stein Park, we have a open facility, and in that it's a drop-in usage, possibly. If you want to reserve a field to make sure that you have the field available to you at a certain time and on a certain day, then we could explore doing that as well. But right now, we're still just kind of with the concept plan itself and haven't gotten into the fee structure or the priority or recreation side of things. Yes, we will look at putting together a priority, not really in a priority, but a fee schedule out there, and we'll make sure that that does get brought back to council.
How much money is designed for the maintenance of the fields?
That's the next item on your list there. After the cost estimate is a synthetic field operating cost. And again, these were some numbers that we put together from information provided by some of the different synthetic field manufacturers out there, and also some of the labor that we've seen and talked with people who have actually operated synthetic fields in the past. With synthetic fields, and again, depending on the type of surface that we go with, there's different maintenance practices that need to be done on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and on a yearly basis. And a lot of that is also described in the warranty of the product, that certain activities, certain maintenance practices need to be completed in order to keep the maintenance and keep the warranty with the facility itself. So I've laid out here kind of some operating costs that we put together, again, based off of conversations that we've had with individuals and with groups out there that do maintain synthetic fields. Obviously you're going to have your trash pickup and your restroom cleaning. Mowing is going to be mowing the perimeter, the right of way out there, and again, not just the synthetic fields out there. They will not need to be mowed. Field inspections is a large one out there for us, making sure that, one of the things that we pride ourselves on with the soccer complex in Kent Stein Park is safety. And there is safety issues that can come about with synthetic fields. And again, inspecting the fields on a daily, a weekly, and monthly basis is very important to the safety of the user groups. There's grooming of the field to make sure that the fibers are standing up properly, vacuuming any material that is dropped down below, blowing off any debris that could collect on there, and also raking the fibers again in the infill itself to make sure that the field is being maintained properly according to the manufacturer. And again, depending on the type of field you go with, depending on the manufacturer, is going to dictate the maintenance that's going to be needed for the facility.
So I don't see an equipment list for vacuuming and grooming and sweeping.
We have, and right now we currently have not put together an equipment list. And again, a lot of that is going to be dictated on the type of surface that we go with. It is part of the contingency plan that, again, is, as you see from the cost estimate, we have approximately $4.66 million as the installation cost for the project, and we have built in a contingency plan to be, and that equipment will be part of that plan.
Okay. How about the maintenance? Will be that private funding, or is it will roll into the budget of the city?
We would look at rolling it into the budget of the city, but we also would look at the revenue offsetting the maintenance costs as well with this facility.
Or at least a portion of it.
Exactly. And again, until we're able to put together a revenue source or a maintenance plan with the thing, it's hard to say with that right now.
So did you, some of these numbers, did this come from the school district?
No, I had talked with several individuals throughout University of Iowa. Actually, one of our current athletic facility specialists down at Kent Stein Park came from University of Iowa, and we talked about what their maintenance plan was with Kinnick Stadium and some of the other athletic synthetic fields throughout the community, or throughout, the state of Iowa.
Okay.
How many additional people will you need to maintain it?
Right now, for labor, we're just looking at one seasonal position. And again, the nice thing with the synthetic field versus going with a natural turf is that we're going to be able to extend the season. We're looking at adding in an extra month in the spring and also extending the season from October 31st, which is when our complex currently closes, to the end of November, obviously weather depending on there. So we're also looking at being able to extend the season in the spring and a month in the fall as well. We're looking at one position at $7.92 an hour, and that's what our current seasonal groundskeeper rate is, which we do have one currently at the soccer complex, for 40 weeks at $7.92 an hour, 40 hours a week.
Okay.
All right. If there's no other questions, I will go ahead and turn it over to Jennifer to talk about community impact.
You touched on some of the issues a little bit already, but I wanted to speak on current usage at the Muscatine Soccer Complex. And I believe you stated 19 different user groups, but there's 27, including people from some places from out of town. Current user groups include, but are not limited to, the Muscatine High School, the Community Y, the Muscatine Soccer Club, St. Ambrose, the Latin American League, Iowa High School Athletic Association, and Special Olympics, as well as many others. During the 2011 season, there were a total of 2,661 usage hours for the existing 8 fields. Also, amazingly, during 2009 and 2010, there were 2,931 and 2,344 hours of usage respectively, and that was during the 3 wettest years in Iowa history. In addition, there has been some crossover usage for soccer in the outfields at Kent Stein. That has gone on for the last 3 seasons in the fall. The complex usages are varied. The schedule runs, as Nick stated, from April 1st to October 31st, includes youth leagues, large tournaments, scrimmages, high school competition, and the girls' state soccer tournament, as well as the college search kickoff. These events benefit members of our local community, who are many participants in these activities themselves, as well as the entire community benefiting from visitors coming here to participate. Due to the amount of usage with our current facility, the Phase 3 Development Committee was able to establish the need for versatile green space, which could open up more opportunities for wellness and activity in Muscatine. The proposed synthetic surface will allow for a longer playing season during the year, supporting the Phase 3 original plan's intention for versatile playing surfaces. This opens the door for many potential uses, which we talked about earlier, but not limited to. Drop-in usage could be marching band competition, could be blue zone groups, football, soccer camps, as well as baseball and softball usage. This plan will support the need for increased parking, as during the events for both soccer and Kent Stein, we've already discussed and know it's a known problem that we have a lack of parking. The details of this plan have not been taken lightly by the committee. We are aware this is a large project. We are a motivated group of individuals who believe the proposed plan will provide a safe, reliable playing surface to enhance and encourage physical activity and improve wellness in Muscatine, at the same time while drawing potential visitors and increased economic gain for the city of Muscatine. Please move to approve the Phase 3 development project, concept plan, and the $5 million cost estimate subject to 100% outside funding. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, committee. No action on that tonight, right, Greg?
No action at an in-depth session, Your Honor, but certainly if there's any additional questions.
I do have one question, Your Honor. $5 million sounds like a lot of money, but if have you started looking at additional sources? Is that $5 million obtainable in your eyes to be able to find that much money?
One of the tasks at hand with this committee was, is there a need in the community? The community was the need was demonstrated in the community. We know it's a lofty goal. The committee is aggressive, and there has been some preliminary conversations with many different members of the community, some present tonight. Some fundraising has been started. We would like the opportunity to at least seek that funding because we think that is the right way to do this project.
Are your gut feeling now that it is obtainable, that you're not looking for any funds to come within the the city budget?
Correct. We are looking at a 100% outside funding plan of $5 million. In addition to that, as the committee spoke of, we are also looking at operating costs that we hope, our intent is, to be 100% covered by the operation of this facility. By the extended playing seasons, we should be able to operate smaller, more aggressive tournaments that hopefully will generate revenue and pay for the direct operational costs.
Thank you.
Yes.
I didn't notice, Rich, is there a timeline that you're?
Tomorrow. There is not a timeline. We will go as quickly as we can. As soon as we get receive consensus from the council to move forward with this project, then we will aggressively pursue the funding. And the committee is ready to do that.
As soon as you write a check, Mayor.
It's in the mail. Tom?
I will just add one other thing here. I think it's worth noting that I think it will be a great addition to the community. I think it's much needed facility for the kids in our community to play on a safe surface that it's not available right now for any of them, despite if it's high school or if it's a club or anything, but it will be a safe surface that the kids, they can play on. I think it's much needed here in this community, and definitely it's worth supporting.
I would also say in addition to that, that it supports an identity feature that the city needs to have as well, sports.
Absolutely.
Council, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Haig. I'm a former vice president of the Muscatine Civic Improvement Foundation, the entity that provided the soccer complex to the city after it was fully funded, built, constructed, and then turned over to the city. A few other things in my soccer history that you don't want to hear about, but maybe some of you already know. I do want to thank Councilman Shahada for the nice comments and words. I appreciate that. I think my reason for wanting to speak to the group is really short and simple, and I want to address Councilmember Bynum's thoughts on a little learning process that this individual went through back in 1992, late 91. The city was not the original recipient of the thought process of a soccer facility in the community. There were discussions that it would be on high school property owned and operated by the high school, something much smaller than what's currently there. There was a committee put together by the county supervisors and an opportunity prior to the developments where the post office are at and all of the county farm property and a 4-field facility was presented by the County Conservation Commission. A committee was identified by the Board of Supervisors. That committee made a 100% recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to proceed with a 4-field facility, and the Board of Supervisors turned it down. And we resulted in a 6-field facility concept that was brought to City Council back in early 1993. Through the generosity of former Mayor Bob Bosch, the 2 additional fields, where Field 7 and 8 were donated after the process started. And again, through the generosity of those who funded the project, those fields were added to the project. The reason for all of that history is now to simply summarize and note that back in 1993 dollars, $3.8 million was raised. And I will just give you a quote from one of the individuals who was very generous when we started that whole process. And at that time, Coach Haig thought, gosh, it would really be great for our soccer program to benefit from the donation of a pair of $1,500 aluminum goals for the high school program. And that individual told me that you need to seek vision. And I would just note that if in 1993, the community was able to, with a limited number of private entities involved, raise $3.8 million, I would strongly suggest in 2012 dollars that the committee has done a great job in coming up with what I feel is a potential realistic project that the community could potentially achieve. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Bill. Council, anyone else? Comments, questions for anyone? Okay, let's move along. Item number 4 on the agenda, review of recreation fees. Rich Climbs.
No, Matt's going to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening. Matt Beatty, Program Supervisor for the Parks and Recreation Department. For your review is a list of fees and policies per division for the Parks and Recreation Department services, and these include resident and non-resident fees. I'll kind of go through the list a little bit for you here, give you some information. Starting with the Recreation Division. Our fees for the Recreation Division are based on the activity. The activities are designed to pay for themselves, so it depends on the actual activity. They are, what we're looking at for a policy for non-resident fees is they're figured to be double the fee, not to exceed $5. And that is a policy that emulates some others that are out there. Iowa City is one that uses that fee structure. So that's what we decided on. For sports leagues, notably the adult sports, there'd be a flat $5 fee for each roster that a non-resident is on. So they would pay that themselves. Residents wouldn't pay anything additional beyond the fee for the activity. Aquatics division. In 2011, we started using a non-resident fee for the season passes, and we are adding on a non-resident fee for the daily rates for that, and that amounts to $1 per person. For the daily admissions, for the discount books that we use that have 15 passes, it'd be $1 per visit, and then a increase similar to what we did for the season passes for rentals of the facility. Park facilities, we'd be using the current structure that we have and adding on an additional fee to help cover the usage of a non-resident. So the fee structure has not changed with that. It would just be an additional fee for a non-resident there. Kent Stein Division, same idea, using the same structure we already have in place, adding an additional fee on for a non-resident to reserve a field or for league maintenance fees. Greenwood Cemetery would be a 10% across the board fee increase for non-residents, and that fee would be based on the person who is purchasing the space, is how we would base that fee. And I'll let Dan talk about golf. Is there any questions regarding the non-resident fee structure as proposed?
Just as a note, this is what we discussed during the budget session. Wanted to give you an update of what the numbers are. This will be coming back in a format similar to this for adoption by resolution by the council in the next couple weeks.
Just one thing on the cemetery here, I think we are lacking behind, way behind, with raising the fees here. You think that will even be an obstacle, not only for cemetery in that matter, for everything else? Did we do a survey, or I know I would ask the same question for golf here. In previous year, when we raised that season pass, let's say for $25, did we lose or did we gain? I don't know. I don't have the numbers here for the previous year, but for the cemetery year, we are struggling with that. By raising it $20, is that going to be an offset for us here to gain anything?
Well, first, there was no fee surveys done with this fee adjustments. The fees are simply based off of a resident, non-resident grouping. An additional fee survey can be done. We just didn't have the time at this budget process when we approached the resident, non-resident to do that.
There was a fee survey done with the golf.
Golf there was, but
Yeah.
recreation and cemetery
The
there was
recreation,
not.
yeah, the recreation fees are just, we took our current fee structure and added a non-resident fee structure. Golf, we do have a survey, and Dan can speak to that here in a minute.
But raising it for the cemetery, $20, is that, I mean, we are struggling filling these, I mean, is that-
Currently, we have about 115 burials a year. We have additional pre-need sales out there. The columbarium, arguably, it looks like it's starting to take off. The last survey we did, we priced ourselves not to be the highest, not to be the lowest, but a medium range price range for all the services out there. That was done probably 3 years ago, if memory serves me, 3-4 years ago. I would suggest if you want a resident, non-resident fee, we recommend you approve that at this time, and then next budget year, we come back with a complete survey and an analysis of the region as to what fees are charged. But we do need to get moving forward with the fees if we're going to do those as seasons are starting very quickly. So that's the best answer I can give you, Osama.
Just a concern, if we raise the fees, maybe the rounds or the barriers or whatever, it's going to go down. And that's the concern, especially when we are struggling right now.
Absolutely. We have no revenue projections attached to these non-resident fees because we're quite honestly not certain that we're going to generate more revenue with non-resident fees. But we do know that was direction, and it looked like that was the consensus from council during budget, that you wanted us to at least pursue that and bring it to you. And that's how we came back tonight, instead of asking for approval during the budget process.
But that's slightly different with golf, because we're not proposing a non-resident fee with golf. We're simply looking at a fee increase, and that is based on a survey, and we are very comfortable with those numbers.
Correct.
Let's jump to golf real quick.
I'm Dan McGinn, the golf pro. Osama, you asked the question about last time we changed rates. At the golf course, we changed rates after the 2007 season for the 2008 season. Looking at play numbers here, play actually increased in the 2008 season, and when we sold more season passes in the 2008 season, even though we had increased fees. It was a similar type of rate increase, about $1 across the board, similar to a 5%.
I'm sure weather has to play with that too.
Absolutely, yeah, just like any of the other things. So, but just to answer that question there.
Thank you.
Yep. The proposed rate structure that we have for the golf course is about $1 for the regular fees and about 5% on the season pass rates. We feel that keeps us in line with our competition. There's also in your packet of information, there's a fee survey. And if we look at the rate increases, even with that increase, we'll still be on the lower end of comparable courses in the area, in the region. It's similar to our season passes. If we do implement the 5% rate increase on the season passes, that would still keep us at some of the lowest rates in the area. And again, this is similar to rate increases that we have had in the past, a very nominal rate increase of $1 for each of the fees that we charge. Any questions about golf fees?
On the fees, where from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, is that a starting time, or do they have to be off of the course by 3 o'clock?
That would be a starting time.
Okay.
We've recognized those time frames from 1 to 3 as being a slow time at the golf course.
Right.
And what we've done in the past is run specials during those times. We feel like we're kind of heading down a slippery slope with that of continuing to offer specials that we would devalue all of the time at the golf course. Rather than just the specific times that we're looking for. So in the new rate structure, there are a couple of different rates. One of them would be that kind of built-in discounted rate from 1 to 3. Our busiest months are June, July, and August, and it tends to be hot from 1 to 3 in June, July, and August. So just something for us to get more people out at the course during those times. We've recognized as slower times.
The other thing I noticed and wanted to point out that you lowered the proposed junior rate for season passes from 160 to 90. You want to share with the public what's that all about?
That's correct. We propose that the junior season pass go from $160 to $90, and as well extending we had a Thursday junior day special of $5. I'd like to extend that to 7 days a week. Just like in all of our recreational activities, the youth is the future of golf, and the future of golf right now, nationally and worldwide, is struggling. And so I feel like that's one of the ways that here in Muscatine, we can provide this great golf course to the youth for a discounted price, and get them started enjoying the facility that we have, using the facility that we have now while they're young.
Thank you.
Anyone else, council?
Just emphasize the junior is not a junior at the high school, but there's an age.
Correct. Those would be 17 and under
Okay.
during the calendar year.
A specific demographic.
Yes.
I know this isn't a golf question, but do you have any concerns about managing residency status? You got that figured out yet, or no? Okay.
It's going to be difficult. We're going to have to, if there's an adult that's attending with the children, we can go off of IDs. Obviously, IDs for the purchaser of the cemetery plot. Children are going to be our biggest difficulty at the swimming pool, and for the most part, a lot of our staff at the pool are youth. They know a lot of the kids, but there is going to be some error in that. Sure. Not everybody's going to tell the truth with the kids, but what's a good way of saying this? But the kids rat on each other.
But it will be very hard to get an ID from a dead person for the cemetery, wouldn't it?
Well, it's the purchaser of the plot.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Become a
that,
resident.
most of the plots are sold
Prior.
from the funeral home.
Right.
So, we just have to make sure that what their understanding of what our policies are, so.
Just in case you want to say something.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
just
you, Dan.
appreciating
Thank you, Rich.
the
Appreciate it very much. Item number 5 on tonight's agenda, review of a city council rules. Greg.
Thank you, Your Honor. A while back, we were tasked with talking to the city attorney in regards to residents. You have in your packet an email memo from Matt Brick, the city attorney, in regards to residents, and his 2 recommendations as an add to the city code. Not the rules, but the city code. It could also be included in the city council rules as well. But there are 2 specific recommendations from Matt Brick in there as well.
It was printed
Give me 1 second.
in
It's in the packet from Mr. Brick. The 2 items are to amend the definition of reside or residence, as he has stated there. The second item is to include a process whereby the council can review an individual's status as a resident or non-resident. So that was item number 1, and there is a memo included in there. Maybe I'll stop there for a moment and see if there's any questions on residency. I think it's a pretty simple addition that could help clarify things in the future.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing, it's easy fix, and we can certainly move ahead with that. Item number 2, when the issue came up, we took a look at the city council rules, and I don't believe they've been looked at for quite some time. Thus the reason to hand them out and have you take a look at those and see if there's any opportunities to change things or make amendments. As we're going through at staff level and putting things together, it seemed to make some sense to amend the agenda process, streamline it. We suggested adding minutes, proclamations, and appointments to the consent agenda. It's not specifically noted in the council rules, but there is an outline of the actual agenda. It's not been our practice to include those items in there. It seems to make some sense. And just as a reminder, any one council member can remove any item from a consent agenda. It does not require a second individual member to do that. So if there is a particular item that is on the consent agenda, a council member can always remove that item. As well, in giving that some thought, motion setting a public hearing it really comes down to the council, do you want this under consent? Do you want an opportunity to go through those? Really wanted to get your feeling on those. Purchases under a certain amount could be added to the consent agenda as well. And again, you can always remove an item. I threw $15,000 out there. I did that because a lot of time council members have questions regarding vehicle purchases. And that was kind of the threshold I used in that case. But again, even if it's, the council can always remove an item.
I think, in my opinion, I think it's good to go ahead and have it as an agenda item instead of consent agenda for just the public to hear and just people watching. Not everybody read online the whole agenda or what the consent agenda entails. So it will be a good idea just to have it as a line item on the agenda, just to share with the public.
Which items? All of them or the purchases?
I think at least the purchases.
Yeah.
I think anytime you're going to spend taxpayer money, it should be described what it's being spent on and why.
Especially if our purchasing policy plays a role in it, which it stays in town here, that's probably good for the community to hear as well.
Public preference.
Yep, that's too.
Right, that's
So
why we
that's-
didn't include it in our recommendation.
Yeah.
We
We can
kind of went back and
exercise
forth
with
on
it.
it because it seemed like a good item to have on the agenda, but we can also understand wanting to move things along as well.
Sure.
How about is there an issue with the proclamations, minutes, and appointments? Those types of items, those are really procedural in nature. And obviously, if somebody does show up for a proclamation, and we want to read it, we would simply either not place it on the consent agenda, or we could simply pull it off as well if they show up.
But that consent agenda in details will be provided to the media probably.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
instead- okay,
Everything
so that's-
everything that you get is available to the media, and the public. You don't get any additional information unless it's a closed session.
Proclamation, that's your baby, Mayor. So that's whatever you want to do with it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It is.
Are there any other items in review? Councilmember Spread emailed with an item earlier today regarding, a question regarding open meetings, which was, I believe, the last
Yeah, just in reading the current.
section 11.
Section here, I had page 11, there's a reference to to discuss the decision to be rendered in a contested case conducted according to the provisions of Chapter 17A. And really, it was more informational. I was looking for Chapter 17A in the city code or in this, and I didn't realize it was a state code citation. So if nothing else, perhaps we could clarify the language so we know where to find it.
I'd simply suggest removing section 11.5 in the council rules because the state code defines what is included in open meetings, open records, and that may change from time to time. There was a change here last session, I believe, in regards to open meeting, open records. So if we simply cite the state code section and not list those items out at 11.5.
Do we need to change the terminology on delivering the agendas for the meetings?
Yeah, that was something.
That was old.
Yeah.
I did look at that, and all it says is delivered, and
Like,
we've delivered it to the website.
Okay.
From which you can, technology changes, things change. I think delivered, and there's multiple ways it can be delivered. Some communities, deliver with police officers to your front door.
Yeah,
We
that's what
presently
we
deliver
did.
it to the website, and the council member or anyone from the public can retrieve that same exact information.
we used to have police officers bring it to the door.
Yep. Many communities, a lot of communities still do that, smaller communities.
I always felt like it was kind of a waste of their time.
Yeah, I agreed. And still do. I'd just like to see it, take a look at it, just to update the language. And delivered is one thing, but delivered to me means somebody's bringing a copy to my house or providing me with a copy. And if we could alter that, I think everyone accepts the fact that they can go online and get it.
Provide a copy. I mean, there's lots.
It'll be an electronic copy or something.
We'll put a, before it comes
something
back to
together.
the council, we'll put a, actually, we haven't found these anywhere other than in PDF form, so Fran's going to retype them. And we'll obviously put the suggested changes in there and highlight those, and we can certainly suggest something for that.
Okay.
On page 3, the order of business, section 2.2, it looks like we have perhaps acted and eliminated item 3.
Yeah.
We need
For
to
all
update
practicality.
this.
Yeah. That was the cleanup that I was,
Yeah.
way we are currently doing
Sure.
things. And
Probably the entire section 2.2 needs to be reviewed.
Good.
I'll have Fran, as Fran is going through it, obviously, she's the one that's most involved with the process, and if she notes anything, we'll certainly bring that to your attention. But I'll specifically point these items out to her. 3.2 or 2.2?
2.2. 2.2.
Okay, thank you.
Order of business.
No, he's saying 2.2. This.
Yeah, but this is good.
That's all I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Item number 6 is a request by me, the mayor, to approve proclamation recognizing Vice President Xi Jinping's visit to Muscatine. Is there a motion to approve that proclamation?
So move, Your Honor.
Phil or Bob, I don't care.
I don't care.
Phil.
Bob can do it.
Okay, Phil, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Tom. Discussion, anyone? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, item number 7, council comments. Let's start with Mark.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
I have nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Zalman?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Bob?
It's nice to have budgets almost over with.
Almost.
Well, we haven't had the final vote
Yeah.
yet, so that's it, Your Honor.
Jeanette?
Well, since the topic of the snake came up again tonight, if you form a committee to study that, a subcommittee or something, I'd be glad to work on that.
Okay, so noted. Tom?
Just that as a new member of the council, I've participated in a handful of meetings now for the budget process for the first time. Those are long meetings, but I just wanted to recognize the city staff. I know they started working on that last October. It's a huge body of work for our benefit, and appreciate their effort.
I have a closing comment after you, Greg.
Thank you very much for the comments. I will certainly share that with all city staff. And I did have one item that Randy asked me to bring forward tonight. He received today, the Asphalt Paving Association of Iowa has recognized the City of Muscatine in a Quality in Construction Award for Quality Paving Award for the Weed Parked Wildcat Den Trail. So thought I'll let you know that.
All right.
Cool.
New addition for your office.
Great, all right, always looking for new things to hang on the wall. Next Wednesday, the city of Muscatine is about to be honored with a visit from a gentleman that's about to be one of the world leaders. There's really no red carpet type of thing that the city itself is rolling out. I've been invited to attend the proceedings, and I will be presenting the Vice President of the People's Republic of China with a key to the city. He received one back in 1985 during his first visit here. I don't know if it was a brass key, but he's about to get a brass key, as well as a proclamation that we have, I believe we have mounted on a plaque. Is that correct, Greg?
Fran did receive the plaques today.
Okay. So, and that's pending approval of sort of the lead team that's helping bring this gentleman here. So again, we should be very proud that Muscatine has been chosen by this gentleman on his itinerary across the United States from the East Coast to the West Coast. So I am very proud, and I hope you all join me. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
Someone.
Meeting adjourned.